Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Honey and today I have another custom design tutorial for you. We are going to be making a quilt and tassels. First off, I'm starting on the quilt. It's very self-explanatory. I don't think you really need much explanation from me on this one. It's literally just 8x8 squares because it is a 4x4 quilt piece. And I wanted the squares to be a little bit smaller than the standard 4x4, which I'll be doing in the future as well. But the 8x8 I just thought was a cute idea. And I went ahead and just did a variety of repeating patterns. It wasn't anything special, just stripes and diagonal lines and squares and hearts and like just, you know, your basic things. But when you put it all together in a quilt and you put those little stitch lines in between, oh my goodness, it becomes very, very cute. So that is what we're doing today. We are making ourselves a cute little quilt. I use the same color palette that I used as my mush circular heart, you know, the flower kind of rug that I made last time. That rug, I used the same color palette from that because I wanted my rugs to be cohesive and to kind of match each other throughout. So I decided to make that my color palette for the island so that I would have a nice cohesive color scheme to work with. So now all I am doing is making a set of like geometric and non-geometric patterns, like just to try and create some interesting little quilt pieces. From far away on the ground, they look very, very, very tiny. So there is no need to put a ton of thought or brain space into this. This will look good even if you do like the most basic things you can think of. It really will. I promise it will. It'll be fabulous. And so we're just going to do the little stitchings in between, which I tried to do something different and I ended up not liking it. But yeah, I alternate between using the green color and the brown color because on some of the quilt pieces where I used the dark brown, it ended up not looking good. So I went with the dark green instead, because then it looked like separate pieces, like they, you know, belong together. So I tried to avoid overlapping that stitch color. I think the next time I make a quilt, I will specifically make a stitch, like the stitch color, just to have it stand out a little bit more. I also forgot in this video to do the ones along the edges, but if you look, all you have to do is do the one stitch on one side and have it be matching on the other side of the custom code entirely the same way they are in between the squares. So you just do that on the edges. I did a little fine tuning of the colors because it had that little wonky thing that pixel art likes to do when it likes to take your diagonal pattern and make it like a weird kind of squiggle thing, and I really don't like that. So we're just changing the color palette because I'm going to do the tassels. I just wanted to use a couple of the colors that were already there, so I figured, you know what, we'll just use the same palette. So we're gonna go ahead and make it so that you're gonna push ZR, you're gonna be able to mirror the right and left, and we're gonna do the base of the tassels just like this. You can feel free to pause the video and copy the way mine come out if you would like, if that's your jam and you don't want to really have to think about it too hard. I just made something like kind of natural looking and worn looking, and I wanted it to look a little bit lacy and knitted and yeah, pixelized maybe just a tiny bit at the base so that it looks like it's a little older. And then I added some shadows because shadows add depth, and depth is important in art. And some highlights because I did want this to look lacy, and there's going to be shadows and highlights and bumpies and all of the things when you're dealing with something like tassels and lace. So if you're ever confused as to why I would do it like this with the ZR, it's because when I go back and I make the one side of the tassel, then I don't have to recreate the base. I can just add the tassels in. And just like this, all I have to do is add in my tassels. The way I like to do it is I like to make the shape first, and then I go in and I add the highlights and the shadows. To me, it's the same as doing line art when you're drawing, doing a sketch and then going in with the heavy details with your colors and stuff. So to me, it's kind of the same thing. That's what I'm doing. I did the line art, the whole base of it first, and now I'm going in and I'm coloring it in with depth. I'm adding, the highlights and the little strands and whatnot to make it look like it's an actual thing. I mean, obviously it's an actual thing, but to make it look like it's a little bit more believable and realistic. So I'm just going back and forth and adding all of that in. But having that base already done is really just like, it's a win. I tell you. So I do recommend doing that. Like, you can't exactly tell that the two sides are mirroring each other because they're never sitting right up against each other. So you really can't tell that it's kind of an exact mirror at the base. And your tassels are usually going to be just slightly different because you're not going to repeat the exact same thing on the other side. So that makes it much easier. You could do a very structured tassel, but I wanted something a little bit messier and more natural and worn in for this island because that's what fits here. So we're just gonna do the other side and we'll be all done. Can you believe that? Making a tassel and rug combination is super easy. I recommend to anybody to just make your own little quilts, make your own little rugs, and use them on your island happily, because they'll be personal to you, personal to your own island. It's the nicest way to add like a little personal touch to your island. And then you can go and use these custom codes as your flag, because that little quilt would be so cute as your flag. You can put a nice big letter in the middle to represent your island name and white that out or make it in one solid color. And then that would take it to the next level and look like the initial is stitched onto a background, which would be an absolutely amazing idea. And I've done that before on rosewood. I did it with a wooden deck pattern where I made the R look like the wood and kept the custom design, but then kind of changed it up in order to make my island flag. So here you go. This is the finished product. Hopefully you guys like it in your own personal colors that you choose. And I thank you for joining me. I know you could be doing anything and you chose to spend a little of your time here with me. I always appreciate you for that. I know that your time is incredibly valuable and I do not take it lightly. Thank you so much. And until next time, bye.